India, in Delhi, on June 23, 2019, a woman named Rani was cooking at her home for her husband and children, and around 8 a.m. she left for work. She worked as a domestic servant in Vasanth apartment, and when she reached the first floor to house number 234, she noticed that the door was already open. It felt unusual because no one seemed to be inside. Still, she stepped in, and the moment she entered the kitchen, she was shocked. Lying on the floor was a 22-year-old woman in a pool of blood, already dead. Terrified, she rushed to another bedroom to check, and there she found 2 more bodies, both lifeless. Unable to process what she was seeing, she screamed in fear and called the neighbors, and immediately the police were informed. 3 people brutally murdered inside a house. Who killed them, and what exactly happened in their lives? That is what we are going to uncover in this video. If you enjoy crime thriller stories, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like, and comment. Now let's get into the case. In the house where Rani worked, there were a total of 3 members. First, Vishnu, aged 78, a retired government employee, and his wife Shashi, aged 75, who had worked as a nurse. Both of them were now retired and receiving a good pension, so financially they were stable. To take care of them, they had hired a nurse who stayed with them in the same house, a 22-year-old girl named Kushba. She was given a separate room and lived there full-time to assist the elderly couple. The couple had 2 children, a son and a daughter, but their son had passed away in an accident, so their daughter Amita was the only one left. She was married and living in Delhi, and her husband's name was Ranveer. Now the police began their investigation, trying to understand the motive behind these murders and whether the victims had any enemies. They questioned Amita, who said that her family had no known enemies and that they were on good terms with everyone. The police then searched the house carefully, but there were no signs of forced entry. The doors and windows were intact, everything inside looked clean and undisturbed, and even the money in the house was untouched, so robbery didn't seem to be the motive. This made the case even more confusing. If not theft, then what was the reason behind such a brutal triple murder? As they analyzed the situation, the first suspicion naturally fell on Rani, the domestic worker who had discovered the bodies, so the police decided to investigate her in detail. But Rani clearly explained where she was and what she did that day, and when the police verified her statements, everything matched perfectly, so they ruled her out as a suspect. Then the police obtained CCTV footage, and in that footage, on June 22, 2019, at around 11:38 p.m., a masked man and a woman were seen entering Vishnu and Shashi's house, and later at around 2:30 a.m., they were seen leaving with a bag and escaping on a bike. However, the footage was not clear enough to identify their faces or the bike number. Now the police started suspecting that someone connected to Kushba might be involved, so they began investigating her background. During this they found that Kushba was frequently in contact with a particular number, which turned out to be her lover named Nithiam, who was also her relative. This raised suspicion that maybe a conflict between them could have led to the murder. When the police went to Nithiam's house, they discovered something shocking. He was involved with another woman as well, and Kushba had no idea about this. Now the suspicion grew stronger because the CCTV clearly showed a man and a woman, but when both Nithiam and the other woman were questioned, they explained their whereabouts, and after verification, their alibis also turned out to be correct, so they too were removed from the suspect list. Then the police started suspecting Vishnu's son-in-law Ranveer and daughter Amita, because a few months earlier Vishnu had planned to sell the house for 70 lakhs, and Ranveer had asked him to give that house to them saying it would help their life, but Vishnu refused, so the police considered whether this could be the motive. However, the people seen in the CCTV did not match them, and even their alibis for that night were verified and found to be accurate. Then the police asked Amita if she suspected anyone, and that's when she revealed an important detail. On June 17, A woman named Preeti had called from Kushba's phone. Amita recognized the name because she already knew her. After many years, Preeti had suddenly contacted them saying she had come to visit her parents and wanted to meet, but Amita found it strange and didn't understand why she would suddenly come to their house. This raised suspicion, so the police started searching for Preeti, and eventually they found her staying in a hotel. She was not alone, there was another man with her named Manoj, aged 39, while Preeti was 42 years old. She had already been married twice and divorced both times, and was now in a relationship with Manoj. Initially everything between them was normal, but later Manoj started asking Amita for money frequently for drinking. Preeti also had the habit of drinking, and both of them were facing financial problems, so they came up with a plan to steal money. That's when Preeti remembered Vishnu and Shashi, an elderly couple with wealth, and realizing they would be easy targets. Both of them had already visited the area 2 days earlier to study the surroundings and plan the crime. On the night of June 23, 2019, Preeti went to the apartment. Kushba opened the door since she already knew her. Preeti told Vishnu and Shashi that she had come to this area and wanted to stay the night. She also asked if she could bring along another person who had come with her, and the elderly couple agreed. After that, Vishnu and Shashi went into their bedroom, while Kushba was in the kitchen. At that moment, Preeti increased the TV volume to avoid any noise, and then went into the kitchen and suddenly stabbed Kushba with a knife. Hearing the sound, Vishnu came out, but he too was attacked and stabbed, and finally Shashi was also killed in the same way. After committing the murders, both of them carefully cleaned the entire house, then collected all the valuables including gold, diamond jewelry, and cash, leaving behind a small amount of money so that the police wouldn't immediately suspect robbery. After that, they calmly drank wine they had brought in a Pepsi bottle and even smoked cigarettes inside the house, and around 2:30 a.m., they escaped from the scene. Instead of going home, they stayed in a hotel to avoid suspicion. When this truth came out, everyone was shocked. All this brutality just for money and valuables, and the 3 innocent victims who had no idea what was coming, lost their lives in the most tragic way.